welcome to Gaga Knits. My name's Anita and I live in South Wales in the UK, and you can find me on Instagram and Ravelry as Anita Bowl, and show notes can be found below this video. I hope you've had a nice few weeks since we spoke last. I wanted to apologise for the quality of my video, the last one, episode 44. I had a problem with my webcam because it kept trying to autofocus, and also you could hear like a clicky noise in the background. It was quite annoying. But I've looked on YouTube and I found a video there showing you how to take your webcam apart and fix that issue. So I've tried to do that, so hopefully this episode will be a lot better and not so jerky. Let's hope so anyway. Today is Tuesday, the 8th of September, and I'm at home and not in work, which is lovely. At the beginning of the year, I requested in work that I reduced my days and don't work on Monday or Tuesday and work Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. And at the end of August, they agreed to that. And so from the beginning of September, I have Tuesdays off as well, which is really nice. So I was hoping to start doing a regular podcast every first Tuesday of the month. But then I got a cold and I nearly lost my voice, but not quite. So I couldn't record last week. So I've decided that the second Tuesday of every month, I'm going to record an episode if I can. And I'm going to schedule it to come up onto YouTube at 7 o'clock in the evening. So I haven't scheduled any before. I usually just edit them and put them on, but I think then it's nice that if you know it's a date and a time that's going to be there, maybe someone will be waiting to see it. I don't know. Let's hope so. So thank you for coming to spend some time with me. I have got some knitting, crochet, cross stitch, and some acquisitions to share with you today. So let's get on with the knitting first. I have a finished object, or finished objects, because it's a pair of socks. I have finished my socks, the Rhian socks by, let's see, I've written it down, Verity Castledine, and I used the Sarah's Texture Crafts 4-ply in old gold, but she doesn't dye yarn anymore, and I really enjoyed knitting these socks once I changed from the 9-inch circulars to dpns. They are cuffed down, and the first sock, which I think is this one, I did in the 4-inch circulars to the heel, and then I changed over to dpns, and I gave up because I just didn't get on with the circulars, and I think it's made a looser sock than this one. So they are slightly different in length, and I am a bit lazy because when you're knitting socks in the round, a round is so quick that I've got my little clickers. I'll show you. These are the row counters that I like to use, and they are I think they were designed for bouncers, for clocking people into nightclubs and things like that. Oh, bear with me a moment. There's a message that's come up. That's annoying. I don't want to view results. Right. So I should, on the first sock, obviously, make a note of how many rounds I've done, so I do exactly the same with the second sock. But because I'm lazy, I don't, and I just measure them. And I'm not very good at measuring knitted things, because if you put them on a flat surface and measure them with a tape measure, sometimes it stretches out, and I don't like measuring. I'd rather be told you have to do so many rows. So I'm going to start being a little bit better and making a note of how many rows that I do from the cuff to the heel, and how many rows I do after I've turned the heel to the toe, because that'll make it much easier for me. I can just have my own formula. And I am entering these into Angela from Yarn and Yarns Yarn and Yarn's Summer of Socks KAL, and I've put them on her Ravelry page already, and it's just a really nice faux cable pattern. There's sort of 3 rows of pattern that you have to follow really, and then the rest it is 7 rows altogether, but the other rows are just very simple. I can't really tell you much because it is a paid for pattern, the Rhian pattern, but they are really, really lovely, and I'm glad I've got them finished. I really enjoyed, there's too many reallys, isn't it, using the yarn. It's such a pity that she doesn't die anymore. So that's my first finished object. Let's put that on the floor. Now my second knitting project is so nearly finished, but I just ran out of time, and it is my Mount Pleasant tee, and that is by Megan Nordecker, and I'm using the Tyddyn Bryn yarn. It's the Stardust base 4-ply, 75% superwash merino, 20% nylon and 5% stellina in the vintage Christmas green, and it's got obviously stellina in it. It's sparkly and I love it. I've done the one little cuff for the armhole, and I just need to do the other one, and I hate picking up stitches at a certain rate. So I thought I could try and do it before I podcast, but I thought it would probably be better. I'll do it later on today, and then next time I can show you a finished object and sew all the ends in. I'm doing the medium size, and I did lengthen it by 1 inch or 2 because I didn't want this to be too cropped. It is meant to be cropped, but I've got it so it sits on my natural waist. So as it's a bottom up jumper, I just kept putting against my sort of arm here and just sort of guessed how much I'd need for the armhole, and when I felt it was sitting right, that's when I started decreasing for the armholes. So I really enjoyed knitting that. There's only a small amount of lace work at the bottom, and that's very simple, and then it's all knitting in the round stocking stitch, and it was just really nice. Lovely, lovely soft yarn to use, and I'm looking forward to wearing it. I haven't made myself a jumper before with no sleeves. It does seem a little bit odd, so I will be wearing a long sleeve top underneath. And I've also got some fabric that I bought a couple of years ago, and it's quite cheap, sort of cotton fabric. It's got holly and ivy on, and I'm thinking I could make a really nice gathered skirt to go with this, so I might do that next. So very, very nearly finished one. And I have got some knitting plans for my next projects, but I'll have to wait till I've got to the acquisition section to explain those to you. So my next is crochet. Oh, and I've put things in the wrong order here. Now, I showed you a little while ago that I bought this book, Beetles, Bugs and Butterflies, and I have made something out of it. And here he is, my first make from the book, and it's a little aphid. Harry asked for some aphids, and what else did he ask for? A beetle. I think it was aphids and a beetle. So they were over the other week. I made him the aphid, and he straight away pulled his little legs out. It's a bit cruel, isn't it? So I put some new legs on him. Can't really see them. He's so small you can't see. But he's quite cute, and I have put safety eyes in. And then a lovely friend on Instagram contacted me and said that she was making some things out of this book, and she was having trouble with the cocoon, and had I made one? So I said I'd have a go. Now, she's self-taught crochet, and so am I, so it was like the blind leading the blind. But I had a go at the cocoon, and it looks a bit like a slipper, I think, and I need it. The instructions are a little bit hard, I found, to understand some of them, and the diagrams didn't really help. And it didn't help that the terms are all US terms, and it's a bit annoying really, is it, American and British crochet terms, because if they were completely different it would be fine, but we both use terms like double crochet and treble crochet, but they mean different things. So I have to, when I was concentrating on the pattern, I have to also try and remember that a double crochet is not a double crochet, it's actually a treble crochet for me, so I've got to remember that. But I don't think I've done it quite right, because this bit is meant to be the bit that hooks over the top of the little baby butterfly, and mine doesn't look like it will. And I know my friend on Instagram, I put, I sent her the details of how I did it, or how I interpreted it, and she had to go and she put some extra rows here to make hers more hooded. So I'll probably have to go at that, because I've got a cocoon and no butterfly yet, so I have to make a little butterfly to go in there and then see how we go. We can always make another one. It doesn't use much yarn, and I'm using, I think it's the Stylecraft DKs. I've had them in my stash for ages from when I've made other things. I'm pretty sure it's that yarn that I'm using. So that's my crochet, and I've got a work in progress for crochet, which is here, my little granny stripe blanket. Let me take it off. Now I'm making this with all my 4-ply scraps, and I've been working on it for quite a while, and basically I just cast on a long chain, and then I do 3 UK trebles in every gap, and then just keep going. I do a magic loop ball and add all my little bits and pieces to that. Well, it usually sits in a project bag, and it's so pretty that I thought, why am I keeping it in there? So all I've done is the very last little hook, I put a safety pin on. So when it's dangled over my chair, the end is safe because it's got the safety pin on, and then I can just look at it like that. I've got my chair back, which is really nice. I lent it to Jodie and Matthew for Jack for his nursery, and they've decided now that he doesn't need a big chair in there, so he needs more room to play. So I've had my chair back, which is lovely because I love sitting up here in my armchair, very comfy. Right, on to sewing. When I have some finished objects, I have at last finished my stepmom's table runner, and here it is. I will put some pictures in because you can't really see the whole thing, and on the back I had to patch the pieces, if you remember from one of my last episodes. When I ordered fat quarters, they actually came as fat quarters and not in a whole run, so I had to sort of sew them together, so it didn't really matter. And I interfaced it. When I interfaced it, it went a bit crinkly and I was a little bit concerned, but when I've sewn it and pressed it, it doesn't seem too bad. The only issue with it is that my stepmom did give me measurements, and I did try and do the maths, do the calculations for all the different strips and to allow for the seam allowance and everything, but when I've measured it now, it's actually smaller than the length that she asked for, so I'm hoping she still likes it. And then also I made these little table mats to go with it. They were just a bit fun, and because I had fabric left, and I love the little English paper piecing, so I just didn't know how to do it. I didn't know whether I was going to do a whole table mat with paper piecing, but in the end I just decided to sew them onto a plain piece of fabric, and then I've got a different fabric on the back, and all the fabrics match and coordinate with the table runner, so there's so many different strips in there. So I've got that one, and then the dark one, and then I just hand stitched the paper pieces on, and I know you can see the stitching, but I like that. I like that it looks a little bit handmade and not, well, it's never going to look professional when I'm doing it, but that it looks like someone's made it, put the effort in. And some sewing works in progress. I'm always nagging Josh if I can make him anything. And he said to me the other day that if I wanted to, I could make him some shorts for work. Now, I think he usually wears overalls over the top. I think it's more because he doesn't want to pay to buy his own. But I don't care. I was looking forward to making him something, and he knows how much I like bright colours and things a bit unusual. So he's requested grey, plain grey shorts. And I've bought this pattern, Simplicity 8705, and you can make the shorts. Here they are. There's a little split in the side, but I'm not going to do that. And I was going really well. I cut everything out. I kind of understand the instructions now, which is good. And I've got this far. They look huge when you're sewing them up, but they're not really. He's not very big. They look massive. And I've got the pockets in ready, but my issue is with my overlocker. So I was sewing the seams with my overlocker. I was going to do it. I'm doing it all on the overlocker because I quite like doing that. And as you can see, I'll put a picture in. I put it on Instagram. Can't really see there, I don't think. I mean, it's perfectly all right in the back. It seamed nicely, but you can see the stitches. And I've threaded and rethreaded that machine. And I looked on YouTube and Googled the problem. And I also put on Instagram, for help. And thank you if you were one of the people who tried to help me. And I think the general consensus is that it's lint caught in the mechanisms. So I've gone on YouTube and I've seen how to take the machine apart, only slightly. I think it's the foot plate and a few bits, and how to take out the lint. And on one of the YouTube videos, the lady said, do this every time after you've made something, always do this. I have never done that. I've never cleaned it. So it's probably that. I'm hoping it's that, and that I'm looking over there because that's where my overlocker is. I'm hoping that I can do that later on this afternoon and get the lint out, rethread the machine, and hopefully it'll stop that problem. And I tried all the tensions. I found a video on that, and I had all these scraps of fabric, and I tried every setting. I couldn't do anything. So I'm hoping it is the lint, because I do like using my overlocker now. When I first had it, I was a bit scared of it because it was a bit lethal. I couldn't get the pressure of my foot on the pedal properly, so I used to shoot through and cut the fabric. And if I didn't have the cutting tool on, then it would curl the fabric if I wasn't in the right place. So anyway, I do like it. I wanted to stitch properly. So I'll give it a clean, and hopefully that'll sort that out. And I'm also in the process of making some kids joggers made by me patterns for Jack. And I've just got the pockets in place, and obviously I'm having the same problem because I'm working on the overlocker. So I can't really do any more, but I love the fabric. It's from Sew Me, is it Sew Me Sunshine? I've written them down. Sew Me Sunshine Baby Shark jersey, and the grey fabric was from Flamingo Fabrics, and it's marl grey French terry. I do try, and I write all these things down in the notes, and then gabble on and forget to tell you what they are. But they will be in the notes down below as well if there's anything you're interested in. And you can always send me a message or comment, and I'll get back to you if there's anything I've forgotten or anything you want to ask me. So hopefully I will sort the overlocker out today, and on the weekend I'll be able to finish both of those. It's very frustrating when tools and things stop you getting on with things. On to acquisitions. Now, firstly, my sister-in-law, Janine, hi Janine, she messaged me recently. They're selling their house and she has to have a clear out, and she said she's got some crafty things. She's well, used to be quite into cross stitch. I don't think she does it so much now. And she said, I've got some things there that I need to get rid of. Would you like me to send them to you? Now they live in America, so I said, oh, well, don't send them. It's going to cost a fortune. And she said, no, I'll just put them in a box. Not much, she said. Well, a couple of weeks later, this box arrived, huge, and I had taken some footage of the things that were in it because I'd be holding them up forever. So she put some huge pieces of fabric in, and there's some Ada fabric, some sort of kits, and then some linen fabric for cross stitch, and there's lots of threads, and some of the so there's two that were kits, so they had the Ada fabric and a pattern in, but not the threads, and some beads and some sort of sparkly threads and some yarn, loads of things. So that was great, lovely, and apparently she's going to have another sort out and send me some more. So that's brilliant. So so she sent me all those things there, and one of the fabrics was this huge piece, and it's quite thick, and it had the little squares in, and I was trying to think what to do with it, and I thought what I would do is make a throw for the cabin bed for my grandsons. So I've got some plans as to what cross stitch things I'm going to put in each square, and I've started work on them. So I've done a Harry there from, there's two books I'm using, which I'll talk about in a minute, and I've just started in the other corner with the C for Jack, like that. Now the only trouble with this fabric, I don't know what it is, but it's a very, very loose weave, and some of the stitches, when you go to do the cross stitch, slide across, so it's not going to be very neat. And in between the holes for the cross stitch, some of the letters you need to make half stitches, and I cannot get my needle through the fabric. So what I've sort of done, I don't know if I've made my own stitch up, because I really struggled with the Y, because there were a lot of half stitches down there, so it was very gappy. So I sort of tweaked that, and I did my own little chart, and eventually managed to get this Y right. But with the C for Jack, I was starting to get the same problem, and what I decided to do is when there is a half stitch, I'd go the row below and put my thread through the hole in the corner of the cross stitch below and pull it up into the corner of the stitch above. So it's sort of like a half stitch, but it's not going through the fabric. I don't know if that makes any sense to anyone else, but it seems to work, although it's not a nice neat cross stitch everywhere. It's sort of like a cross between cross stitch and embroidery, but I don't care because I think it's going to look nice however I do it, and they sort of stand out quite nicely. So I've got the alphabet from the one book. I'll show you the books now, and then I have taken some pictures to show you a bit more closely, because I appreciate that's not a very good way of showing you. Let's put that down there. So I've got two cross stitch books that I bought when we went to Carew in West Wales. There is a huge outdoor car boot sale at Carew. Well, it's go-karting. Well, it's near Carew Castle, but it's not actually at Carew Castle. And there's a big aerodrome, and outside there's a car boot, massive. And then inside the aerodrome, it's more like a market. There's also some antiques kind of sections and secondhand books. I love that one. And I got these there. So there's this one, Picture It in Cross Stitch, and this one, 2-hour cross stitch. And I've done a few things in them before, and I've shown them on here. But this one, let's see, so the alphabet was from the Picture It Cross Stitch. And I'll put a picture of that in, because you're not going to be able to see it very well. And then I thought I would also do, which is a bit on topic at the moment, in one of the bottom corners, a rainbow. and the picture is, it's meant to be a card like for a new baby with a baby sliding down the rainbow with a pot of gold. I will put a picture in, but I'm not going to do the baby bit. I'm just going to do the rainbow and the sun and the clouds, and then I'm at the bottom I'm going to put 2020 because that's when I started it, and obviously that has huge significance this year. And then also, you can't see this one very well, this one here with the heart at the bottom corner, I'm going to make the heart flowers and inside put made by Gaga. And then I'm going to do some alphabet from this one. I'm going to do a couple of squares of alphabets like on a sampler. And where are they? I did put papers in, but I don't know where it's gone. Oh, yeah, there they are. And let's take that paper. These sort of things, and I'll put a picture of those in better as well. So I'm going to do some squares of that, and I've also got plans for the other squares, but I thought I'd show you as I go along because it takes absolutely ages to do one letter. So this is going to be a slow burner, and every now and then when I fancy stitching, I have, since lockdown and everything, quite enjoyed sewing. This nice sewing, stitching. Hand stitching is quite calming. I just quite like it, so I'm going to do a little bit of that when I feel I need to just relax a bit. So there's that, and I've gone backwards now. That was meant to be my last thing. Just turn the page. Oh, my acquisitions, yes. So, oh, I didn't get them out. Bear with me a moment. I've had a bit of a palaver with these. I have wanted to get a certain yarn to make some baby socks. I love the baby socks pattern by Kate Atherley. I've made lots of little baby socks for people when they've had babies, and they all say how nice they are because they stay on, and the little cute ones you buy in the shops, they look great and they've got little ducks on or whatever, but they come off and they wriggle around and there's always a sock missing or they lose them and things. So they like these little socks. And I saw this yarn online, and it's the King Cole, I think big value, 4-ply in spot, and then the actual colourway is popsicle, and it's got pale blue and pink and lemon and cream, like you would have for a baby, but it's so soft. And I wanted to get a ball of this to knit these socks. Now that's pretty easy, I thought, but they had it on Wool Warehouse, but I didn't want anything else, and I didn't want to pay the postage. I mean, I think this ball of yarn is £4, and I didn't want to pay, I think is it £3 and I didn't have anything to bring the price up. So I just sort of kept an eye on it and kept it in my basket. And then my my sister-in-law Janine asked me would I make her a campsite shawl like I made for me, because as I say, they live in America, and when she's coming back and forth, when she's allowed, she can get a bit cold on the plane, and a shawl would be nice, better than a cardigan, trying to get into a cardigan or a jumper. And she said she'd like pink and red. Well, I didn't have enough of anything to make it. If it was for me, I would just sort of put things together that I've already got. But because it was for her and she's so good to me, I thought I would get her some yarn specific, what she's asked for. And I decided to get her acrylic because although I know she'd hand wash it, and she lives in Florida now, so she could hand wash that and it would be dry in no time. She wants it for on the plane to come and visit, where she stays with different family members and things. And I think it would just be easier for her then to be able to just throw it in the washing machine. Anyway, we've got to be practical about these things. So I ordered some, I went back onto Wool Warehouse, and then this was out of stock. Oh, goodness me. So I was looking for it everywhere. It was out of stock everywhere. It must be a very, very popular colourway. And then I found it on eBay, and the store was called Oh So Crafty. So I was just going to buy this, and then I thought, well, as it's from a shop, I'll go onto their website and see what else they've got. And then I decided to order the pink and red yarn for my sister-in-law from there as well. And then I waited and waited patiently for this order to arrive. And I thought, I'm not going to hassle them because I know people have had trouble with postage and everything with COVID and everything like that. And then they emailed me and said that they couldn't get one of the colours for I think it was they couldn't get the pink. And would I like to choose something else? So I emailed back and said, oh, thanks for that. That's really good. Not just sending me the red when it was obviously together because they were the same yarns. And I said, oh, yes, I looked online and I saw, could I have this other one instead, please? And then I had an email back, oh, ever so sorry. It looks like your order was sent out 2 weeks before and I hadn't received it. And I thought, I haven't received anything. And she got back to me and they'd twisted my address, the number of my house around. So instead of the number it was, they had it the other way around. So it was delivered to the wrong house in my street. It's not a big street. So they said, would you be able to go to the other house and ask them if they've still got the package? So I thought, it's a bit embarrassing, isn't it? Because I didn't know it. I don't know the numbers. I know some of the neighbours, but I didn't know which one it was. And it was 2 weeks before. But what if they'd opened it and kept it? Or what if they say they haven't had it? So embarrassing. But I followed the numbers down the street and I actually know the lady whose house it was. That was a relief. And she knows me, but she knows me as Anita. She didn't know my last name. So when I came, I said, it's a very random question, but have you had a parcel for Anita Edgecombe by any chance? Oh, she said, yes, I didn't know your last name was Edgecombe. So she said, yes, it's here. So anyway, I was able to contact the company and say, I've got it, but they only had the red yarn in the parcel, not the pink. So I said, well, it's actually no good without any of the two colours. So they were really helpful. And these emails were going back and forth. And they said, send the red yarn back. And they paid the postage. And they would send me my alternative, which is a very long-winded story. But in the end, here it came. So I've got these now. And they're the King Cole Big Value DK in fuchsia, and the red is red, and they have got numbers, but I'll put that in the notes. So I'm all set now to start on the campsite for Janine, and I'm looking forward to it because the one I did, I couldn't do it properly because I ran out of yarn because I was using a bulkier weight. So I'm looking forward to making it again because it's a really nice pattern and I'll get to finish the whole thing, which would be lovely. And I've told Janine she can have the shawl. I'm not sending it to her, she has to come and get it so we can have a visit, but goodness knows when that's going to be. But there we are. So that, I think, is everything. I think that's all my purchases. I'm going to do the socks, the shawl, and then I showed you all the cross-stitch things that I have got. So that's good. I'm trying to slowly work down on my stash of things, and I keep getting given things and sent things. That's lovely. I don't mind that at all. And buying things is okay, I think, if it's for other people, because you've got to get it just right. So I need to start now thinking about Christmas makes, really. I've got a few plans lined up, but I'm going to get these things done out of the way first. So that's everything. And don't forget that I am going to try and schedule a podcast every second Tuesday of the month at 7 p.m. So hopefully I'm going to be on track with that. And I shall see you all very, very soon. Please take care. Stay safe. Bye for now.